Hello everyone, my name is Resor and this is my end of summer presentation for the Semen Processing and Research Lab internship. Apologies for not being able to be there today. I'm at State Fair right now, but hopefully the video presentation will have a similar effect. So a little bit about me. My name is Ella Resor. I'm from New Knoxville, Ohio, and I was the Semen Processing and Research Lab intern this summer. I recently graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Animal Sciences from the University of Findlay this past May, and this fall I'll be starting my Master's of Science in Animal Sciences at The Ohio State University, where I'll be focusing in ruminant nutrition. So why did I pick select sires? I've had some previous experiences with select sires. I was a summer shadow my summer before my senior year of high school. And in the time that I spent here, I learned a lot, and I just kind of was able to learn a lot about select sires company culture, which is very, very conducive to learning, and working in an environment like that was very appealing to me. I also wanted to gain some lab research and repro experience prior to entering grad school. One of the areas of nutrition that I am especially interested in is repro adjacent nutrition. So that would be for both males and females, but I do take a particular interest in male repro adjacent nutrition, which would be essentially feeding male specimens in a way that would maximize their reproductive fertility and function. So this would be a great place for me to work to get a little bit more experience in that area. I also was another opportunity to work with advanced equipment that could be handy to have some knowledge of prior to entering my graduate research. So some of my goals and objectives for the summer, my number one was to be able to perform correctly and efficiently at all stations throughout the lab rotation. I do remember on my first day sitting down with my supervisor, Steve, and he asked me kind of what I was hoping to do by the end of this summer. My response had been that I want to be able to do any of the stations in the lab without you guys feeling like you need to supervise me. So I wanted to be sufficient enough at doing them that they don't feel like they have to look over my shoulder to make sure I'm not messing anything up. And I think I was able to accomplish that. The 6 stations, general stations of the lab, and these are rotated on a 6-week basis maybe, but every week you're on something different, changing on Wednesdays. The corner is where we initially process all of the semen. We do our initial motility scores, we do our concentration scores, and basically figure out how many straws we're going to be getting out of each batch of collections, batch of ejacs, and kind of go from there. We basically are just determining whether or not the sample is good enough to be frozen and have quality control done on it the next day. Flow cytometry is one of our quality control stations. That's where we determine the viability of the cell membrane. CASA is where we're going to use computer-assisted semen analysis in order to determine the motility of the semen 0 and 3 hours post-thaw. Morphology is where we're looking at the shape of the sperm. Specifically, we're looking for any kind of abnormality that would cause it to be non-effective for the producer who's buying the semen. Picture of morphology is kind of behind my screen that I have here, but that's kind of a small picture of what I was looking at on the morphology station. You go through and you count 100 cells, and they had to have a certain passing score. I believe it's 65 normal in order to pass. And then runs is which we're taking the company car, we're driving over to Darby Creek and Wells to pick up semen from those campuses and bring it back to the lab for the cold room. And then floater is just a station that kind of goes throughout all of the stations and helps with whatever needs helped with. Recently, one of those things has been, since we've joined with the EU lab across the road, has been going over and helping a Hecker, which I've gotten to do a few times with Mary Jo. A little bit different setup, but very similar to what we do in the corner. Well, exactly the same as what we do in the corner over here, just a different setup. I also had the opportunity to work with making milk extender and a few other things that had just been really interesting and good to learn. Another one of my goals was to assist with the research project. I've done a little bit of assisting with a research project so far. I ran some research straws on CASA for a project in which we were combining BH+, which is the extender that ST utilizes, and our own milk extender to see if it had any positive effects or negative effects on motility. of the semen, which we were using CASA to determine. I'm going to be starting on another research project on July 30th, which would be, if you're watching this on the 29th, it'll be tomorrow. Be working with Jada some on that, which would be really cool. And then one of my last goals was to make some new friends and connections, which I feel like I've definitely been able to accomplish. I feel very close with all of the people in the lab, and especially with some of you guys, the interns. So it's been a great experience doing that this summer. So some of my experiences, community service, we spent a day at the Ronald McDonald House, as you all know. Me and Jada were on the grilled cheese station. That was pretty fun. I was already reading my next slide. The tour of the Ronald McDonald House was very interesting as well. I had some lab skill development for sure. If I hadn't already been experienced with microscopes, I can assure you I am now. And that's going to be very helpful, I'm sure, when it comes to my graduate research. I gained experience with CASA, the flow cytometer, the spectrophotometer, pH machines, vortexing, osmometer, all kinds of different stuff. It's been really good to kind of gain more experience across the board, and just working with those on a daily basis has definitely made me more comfortable. And then I already mentioned that I did get to learn how to make extender, which I thought was pretty awesome. I rotated through all the stations, so I achieved that goal. Sometimes I do still have to ask questions and confirm that I'm doing everything right, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. Not saying I don't ever make mistakes, I certainly do, but what's most important is that you just reach out after the fact and fix it. I also had the opportunity to give a tour over at the Hecker Lab. I led a 4-H tour through there and answered questions for them, which was pretty exciting. I had a lot of fun doing that, probably more than I thought I would. These are some of the pictures of my experiences. This big photo is a picture of me in the corner. I think I was doing motility scoring there. Next to that one would be when I was giving my tour. There's some pictures of us at the Ronald McDonald House. Another picture of me in the corner, and a picture from the bowl parade on our orientation week. So some of the impacts that I've had this summer. I've developed friendships with a lot of my teammates in the lab and with the other interns, and that's just something I couldn't be more thankful for. Having a good experience with the work that you're doing is awesome, but being able to love the people that you work with is even better. And it really clicked here for me from the first day, and that's just something that I'm very, very grateful for. I gained some valuable skills and work experience, and I really think those are things that will aid me in my graduate research, but also just in a career one day. And I just think that helped me to have a lot of improvement both personally and professionally. And then I learned more about the unseen work that goes into supporting the industry. So all the work that goes into supporting the producers that Select serves. It was just really great to be part of a team and see how much they care about producing a high quality product and making sure that it's reliable for the producers that use it. So some of my recommendations, when it comes to social gatherings, I was not able to I don't think I made a single intern dinner this summer. And unfortunately, the main reason for that was because I live an hour away, but it's also because I'm busy outside of work. It would be great to have maybe a little bit more of an opportunity to do some networking and have social gatherings during working hours, because I know I'm not the only intern who maybe works an extra job or has some other obligations outside of working hours. So just an example would be like an idea to do one lunch and learn and one social lunch per month, where you could still invite those executives and give us another opportunity to interact with them. But yes, I think that would be very, very helpful. And then I really thought the mentors were a great idea. I really enjoyed my mentor, Dr. Tank. He was really helpful. He gave me a lot of insight into grad school and kind of what life looks like afterward. He also was a great sounding board when I found out what my graduate research project was. Kind of discussed maybe how I would want to set up the experiments and some important details to keep in consideration. Some of my future plans, so kind of vague, I guess. I'm going to pursue my Master's of Science at The Ohio State University, and then I may consider pursuing a PhD. It depends on kind of what opportunities are available at the time that I graduate with my Master's, and then I'd like to start a career in ruminant nutrition. I can see myself being a feed consultant down the road. It just kind of depends. I also wouldn't mind running research trials for feed companies or anything like that. And if I had my PhD, I certainly wouldn't mind being a professor and doing more research. But I think that if I was going to do something like that, I would still want to work in the industry for a few years prior to becoming a professor. That way I could have a more well-rounded knowledge base to offer the students that I was working with. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Thank you for your time. If you guys have any questions, because I know I was supposed to leave time for those and I can't answer them right now, just, you guys all have my phone number, so feel free to reach out if you have any. But as far as that goes, I think I'm good. Highly recommend the semen processing and research lab internship. I really enjoyed myself this summer, and I will be sad to leave. So, yeah.